Now, the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
Play action, McCord, end zone, again, Marvin Harrison Jr. is magical.
I've learned, and I think our guys have learned, that we need to get bigger and stronger and faster as a team.
Walker, there it is! Again, a wide open three, and again it goes for Foster.
I'm not going to do anything I didn't do all summer, you know. I mean, we've had a hell of a summer and fall shooting the ball, and right now we're not shooting the ball that well. So I'm not going to sit here and cry about it. I'm going to say we got to play better.
Coming off its season opening loss to James Madison, which was the first November home loss in Tom Izzo's 29-year head coaching career here at Michigan State, the season is off and running for the MSU men's basketball team. This past week, the Spartans were taking part in the annual Champions Classic down in Chicago. 4 historic teams all in the same building. Our Haley Schoengart was in the Windy City and has more on how things transpired for the Spartans.
Hello and welcome to Chicago. The Champions Classic is always a marquee event on Michigan State's schedule each and every season, and this year was no different. This go-around, though, did have Tom Izzo feeling a little bit sentimental. With Mike Krzyzewski retiring back in 2022, this was the first year he had to face a Duke squad without Coach K on the sidelines. Regardless of who was on the sidelines, both teams came out a little shy. A.J. Hoggard drives the lane, gets the bucket and the whistle to bring MSU within 1, but Duke would have no problem with a response. Jeremy Roach finds Tyrese Proctor in the corner, nothing but net to help the Blue Devils go into the locker room up by 11. In the second half, Hoggard showing he can shoot it and share it. He finds Malik Hall, who gets the big end one to trim into the Blue Devil lead. And you know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This time, Hoggard finds Hall in the corner for the easy tray, and the Spartans would just keep chipping away. Tyson Walker finds Cohen Carr for a big slam. Then he gets into his bag of tricks. This time, he pulls out a step back and knocks down a big-time bucket to pull MSU within 3, but that is as close as they would get thanks to Duke freshman Caleb Foster, who took over and went 4 for 5 from the three-point line and ended with 18 points on the night. Duke cruises to victory by the score of 74-65, the final. It was another mediocre shooting night for the Spartans, who shot just 31% from 3, 41% overall. But when next to Duke's shooting, it was pretty comparable. The game-winning difference, though, was at the free throw line. The Blue Devils went 24 for 30, compared to the Spartans' 7 points they picked up at the charity stripe. Regardless of where the points were scored, though, Izzo's message remained the same.
I'd invite you if anybody really wanted to come. I'll even have a party for you and feed you. But every night before a game, we shoot free throws as a team, and we haven't been under 89% yet. And so I just can't complain about that. It's not that they haven't done it before. Some of these guys like Walker has, shot very well in his career. So, but you just got to keep working at it, and not going to get any easier. We've had a hell of a summer and fall shooting the ball, and right now we're not shooting the ball that well. So I'm gonna sit there and cry about it. I'm gonna say we got to play better. We got to make better shots. We did a lot of good things tonight. We just didn't make shots.
It's definitely frustration. We don't think we should be 1 and 2, so we got to get better. We're not playing the right way right now, so we just got to do better. When you're not making shots, you got to do everything right when you're shooting them, and I just feel like we're not shooting them the right way.
Izzo does like to remind people he enjoys being positive, and arguably one of the brightest spots for the Spartans was the play of Malik Hall, who had 18 points and went 2 for 4 from behind the three-point line, a major improvement from his 4-point performance against JMU. It's the type of improvement Izzo wants and needs to see from his guys as the season continues. In Chicago, I'm Haley Schoengart.
Izzo is now 3-14 against Duke in his career, but he is not writing off this team's ability to compete at a high level. The Spartans will now play a ranked opponent on Thanksgiving Day against Arizona in sunny Palm Springs, California. Now that you're all caught up on the men's basketball team, we're going to be shifting over to Spartan Stadium to catch up with the football team to see what's going on after their loss to Ohio State last Saturday.
This segment is sponsored by Shoepad.
As we go to break, Farm Bureau Insurance invites you to register to win an exclusive private dinner with head coach Tom Izzo. Go to InsideTheGreensweeps.com to register.
They say you shouldn't. You wouldn't dare. They say you're not strong enough. Don't have the drive. lack the inspiration. The world is full of people who will tell you what you can't do. Just say 2 words. I will. There are no small dreams. Begin with an idea. Start now. Dream big with MSU FCU, federally insured by NCUA.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
It's not often you have a college kicker make a position change, much less to a hard-hitting position like tight end. It is the case for 2 Michigan State football players in recent years, and Tyler Hunt and Evan Morris. Morris made this transition nearly 4 years ago without a guarantee he would see much playing time. Our Tyler Driesinga caught up with the 5th-year senior this week and has more on how he is cherishing the little moments here at MSU.
Evan Morris grew up in Elsie, a small town just a half-hour away from East Lansing. Morris was a talented soccer player as a kid and quickly found that talent translated as a kicker on the football field.
I think might have been my 6th grade year or something like that. The coolest thing that I still remember to this day was, I think we lined up for like a 30-yard, 35, 40-yard field goal, something, crazy at that age, of course. And I had made it, and I remember the varsity coach, Travis Long, came up to me. He's like, you keep doing that, you'll start for us on varsity. And I was like, whoa, man, well,
Morris did grow up to play for Coach Long at Ovid Elsie, both as a kicker and as a tight end and defensive end. Through his days there and through competing at various national kicking camps, Morris became a Division I prospect. And when MSU gave him an opportunity, the lifelong Spartan fan didn't wait long to commit.
As soon as they said, you can come here as a walk-on, I think it was within, 5 minutes. I called my mom, called my dad. I'm like, hey, I'm going to MSU. I'm going to MSU. I'm so, this has been my dream school since I've, been a little boy.
Morris kicked off for the Spartans in 2 games as a freshman in 2019. But when the 2020 season began, Morris had made a position change from kicker to tight end, a change that was initially suggested by his friends.
I never thought, that I would at least have the opportunity to do it. I was always too afraid to be like, hey, can I try this out? But so if you would have told me when I first came here, I would have said no shot. But after a while, I was, a lot of people started saying it, so I started somewhat believing it.
At what point did a coach come to you with the idea of making that transition, and were you hesitant at all at first?
Well, funny thing was, a coach didn't come up to me.
You went up to a coach?
I went up to a coach.
The coach was Ted Gilmore, the Spartans tight ends coach, who was hired after Morris's freshman year.
Got his attention, and I said, hey, is there any, I'm thinking about trying out a little bit of tight end. Is there any way that I could, step in for a few practices and try this out? And he immediately goes, how much do you weigh? And I lied, and I said I was 20 pounds heavier. I was like, I'm about 230, 240, I've been working out, whatnot. And he said, he reached out, and he said, yeah, why don't you kind of, step in for a few practices, and we'll see how it goes.
What was the hardest part of making the transition from kicker to tight end at the collegiate level?
The biggest thing that I always say is it's not and that was a huge realization to me, was it's not the athletic differences between one person to another, but can you mentally be there, and do you have that mindset and the ability to perform consistently? So the biggest part for me was I struggled mentally for the longest time.
Morris's transition to tight end has been a long process. For years, most of his playing time came on special teams, but he played 8 snaps at tight end last season, and in the season opener this fall, he made his first career catch. The 4-yard play may have seemed insignificant to most, but to Morris, it validated years of hard work.
The one thing that I want to do is to be able to contribute, to be able to be in the record books, being able to, if you look at, be on a piece of paper of like, if you look at this game, at this day, whatever, this year, you'll see that, you'll see my name. Just so insignificant to other people, but I want to be able to kind of go down in history for MSU and be able to contribute.
A chance to contribute. It sounds simple, but that chance in this uniform is what Evan Morris has been working for his whole life. I know this has been a trying season in a lot of ways, but this is still a dream come true for you, isn't it?
Yeah, this is, I can't even, like I said, it's all I've wanted to do was to, be on that field and be kind of valued and, being able to contribute to as, while being a Spartan and being a, MSU football player. I grew up watching these guys, and I don't say too much, but my mom and dad mostly say that they're proud of me. But I guess I am pretty proud of myself that I'm able to, come from Ovid Elsie, a really small high school, and come here as a kicker and then transfer to tight end, and even without having the team success, I think I have had my fair share of individual successes.
And if 12-year-old you could see what you've become and what you've accomplished throughout your football career, what would he say about it all?
Well done. I think he'd say, something simple. Well done. Yeah. Well done. Good job. Nothing too much. Just good job.
Morris did say he always thought his first catch would be a beautiful moment where he'd make it, look up, and just take in the atmosphere. That wasn't exactly the case, though, for him, as he was battling a knee injury, and that was the only thing he was worried about when he made his first career collegiate catch. But we need to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be chatting with interim head coach Harlan Barnett about how Michigan State can close the gap after last week's loss to Ohio State. We'll see you soon.
This segment is sponsored by the Lansing Sports Commission.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
If you look at the current college football playoff rankings, then you'll know Michigan State is familiar with a lot of teams at the top. This season alone, the Spartans have played 3 of the top 5 teams in the country. They've lost all 3 of those games and been outscored 128-10 after this week's loss to Ohio State. We sat down with interim head coach Harlan Barnett this week to see what is the biggest difference between the current state of the football program and the top teams in the country. Well, I can't think of many teams that have to play 3 top 10 teams this season, or top 5 really, with you guys, what you have gone through this year. What have you learned from those experiences that you think can help these players, not just the rest of this season, but really in life as you guys have dealt with all this adversity?
Well, for one, just the playing the game itself, I think I've learned, and I think our guys have learned, that we need to get bigger and stronger and faster as a team. I've been around teams that have been like that. Of course, here at Michigan State, we've had top 5 teams, and I know what they look like. So that's the first thing: bigger, stronger, faster. I thought we were getting pushed around in some cases, some instances where we shouldn't be getting pushed around. In other areas, we held up just fine. And it's about just being consistent at doing that and having enough depth when you start to get the injuries and things like that, which sometimes this happens throughout the course of a football season. When you have depth and that bigger, stronger, faster team, you'll be able to compete against those type of guys even better.
Where does getting bigger, faster, stronger start? Is that in recruiting, or is that developing guys as they are here and get to their upperclassmen level?
It's both, and it's really in the weight room. By the off season, you're working, putting in the work that you need to put in with the strength and conditioning staff, and so that's where it starts. And so again, it's not every area on our team, but there are some areas on our team where we need to get bigger, stronger, faster as a collective group, and we will do that.
Well, by formation, they saw there was no safety help, and you're not going to win one-on-ones against Marvin Harrison. Beautifully thrown ball by Kyle McCord over the outside shoulder, impossible to defend, and even more difficult because there's no safety there to help the freshman cornerback.
You guys have done a decent job recruiting. You guys have had someone like a Chance Rucker who was able to play as a true freshman. Obviously, he had a very tough test this past Saturday with Marvin Harrison, but what did he learn from that experience going up against a guy who could be the 2nd overall pick in the NFL draft in a couple months? I'm
sure he learned that, hey, I got to go to a whole nother level if I want to go, because all these guys want to go to the NFL. So if this is what I'm going to be facing, I know that I have to go to another level with my game. Again, a true freshman. So it actually was a good experience for him, so to speak. But hopefully we'll see the dividends pay off for him in the future. And you can always point back. Remember when he was a freshman, he was going against Marvin Harrison. Now he's playing whoever, Joe wide receiver, whoever that may be, and he's up there playing with a lot of confidence and great technique. and just doing everything the right way because he knows he's already played against a guy that's a top guy who probably will be at the time doing this thing in the NFL as well.
And you mentioned after the game too how even Darqueze Dennard didn't play this much as a true freshman, and he obviously won the Jim Thorpe Award. So did you expect him to really have this big role as a true freshman?
No, I did not. I did not. Unfortunately, we had some injuries where some guys went down and couldn't, come back. But we did know that he would have an opportunity to play this year. This much, I can't say that. But we did expect him to play for us this year because of the talent that he has shown throughout the course of the spring and then through the summer.
Does he compare to anyone that was a part of that no-fly zone era that really was a big leader and staple of this program for a while?
If I had to compare him a little bit, Coach D'Antonio and I were talking about this, a little bit of Trey Waynes, not as fast as Trey, but like Trey was when he was a freshman. He needs to learn how to go hard all the time and things like that. And that's what Trey ended up learning. That's what but where Chance had a chance to play this year and where Trey actually redshirted. So, are you saying, well, would you redshirt Chance? I mean, if you could always redshirt a guy, that's always would be a good thing to be able to do, in my opinion, right? Darqueze did not redshirt, but Trey did. But, at the same time, if you ask me comparison-wise, some of the things freshman-wise that Trey was doing, you see Chance doing. The difference is Chance is out there playing and Trey was redshirting.
Staying on the topic of a redshirt, after playing in 4 games this season, true freshman quarterback Sam Levitt decided last week he is going to use his redshirt and sit out the rest of this season. When we come back, Barnett will share with us what went into that decision. We'll see you soon.
This segment is sponsored by MSU Healthcare.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
Starting in 2018, college football players were allowed to play in up to 4 games without using their redshirt and keep another year of college eligibility. This past week, true freshman quarterback Sam Levitt decided after playing in 4 games, he would sit out the rest of the year so he could keep his 4 years of college eligibility. And it's where we continue our conversation with Barnett this week.
On 1st and goal, Levitt throws end zone, and that is caught for a touchdown by Tyrell Henry.
What were those conversations like leading up till Saturday's game of him deciding to sit out?
Well, we have been talking all along anyhow, and I told him and Coach Johnson as well that we care about him and his future more than anything. That's number one. It's always about the player as well as the team, don't get me wrong. And so we wanted to take care of him and do what he felt comfortable with. It was a tough decision now. It was very tough because he is a competitor. He loves to play the game of football. And so, but for the best for his future, and that's kind of how we went with it, along with talking with his parents, and so that's what we did.
And then with Caton, where do you want to see him really grow in these next 2 games that you think can springboard him into the offseason?
I would like to see Caton just to continue to go out there and compete and lead us down into some scores. He's the leader of the offense. Basically, you got the ball in your hand more than anybody else, and so. We'd like to see him lead the team down to scores. Sometimes you can will a team to score as a quarterback, I think. And so just trying to get him to do that without putting too much pressure on himself. Not having to do everything, but getting us in the right calls, the right checks, checking the ball down if something down the field is not there. Those type of things. Taking off and running, whatever he has to do to lead us down the field to get a score. So that's what we would like to see him do over these next 2 games.
And with 2 games remaining, you guys sitting at 3 wins currently, a bowl game is most likely probably out of the picture right now, but what's sort of the message with the guys? I know you talked about playing with pride, but how do you really get them to focus with 2 games left and knowing that that's probably it?
Well, like you said, I talked about November is for contenders, and 2 of the things that I talked about earlier on. 4-0 is not going to happen because okay, and then bowl game probably not going to happen. But personal pride is the other one that I talked about. Along with these last 2 games are trophy games. So you got the old brass spittoon for Indiana, and so we're going to try to go after that. That's something to play for as well. And our guys are just natural competitors anyway. It's another opportunity to go out and play football, the game that they love, and get better at it.
I know you've already played in a trophy game with Michigan, but does that have any meaning too, especially a trophy is out of the spittoon? Is that something that you guys really preach this week?
Oh yeah, you definitely talk about, because you want to bring that means something for it to be here in East Lansing as opposed to down in Bloomington or wherever the other trophies are. You want to bring that thing home, and so that's what we're going to try to do. Bring the old brass spittoon home.
So have you spit in it? Is that kind of how that works?
Years ago, I haven't done it in a long time. Just because I don't do that all the time, but I have done it years ago. I've done it, and 1950, that thing been around. That's a long time.
Do you know where that started, the trophy, or just even spitting in the trophy?
My understanding is back in 1950, it was created, and I think it was a Spartan that created it, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the whole deal behind it, but once you get these trophy things going, then they just go on and on and on and on. And I know we want to bring it home this weekend.
With going on the road again, really your final true road game, where do you think this team can take another step with just 2 games left? Where's the one place that you can see this team really improving on in the last 2 games?
Well, you've been hearing me saying it over and over, finish. We did finish finally the Nebraska game, but now we got to finish. We got to finish. And so got to finish the season, got to finish every game, every snap. Every chance you get a chance to go out and perform, you have to finish. And so I want to see us improve on finishing. And so, and ironically, we're at the end of the season where you must finish. So let's start finishing these last 2 games. Let's see us finish the game with victories.
When it comes to Indiana, they obviously just had a very high-scoring game, 45 points, I believe they put up. What are the challenges that they pose for you guys?
They have a good offense. The quarterback does a good job throwing the ball. A lot of back shoulder fades against Illinois, and some other balls that he threw as well. But they do a good job. You can tell they haven't given up either. They're competing. Coach Allen does a good job with those guys down there. He always has, where those guys come to compete. They don't care what the score is or what's going on. They're going to show up and play hard each and every week.
If you remember the last time MSU and Indiana played one another, it was on this field last year, and the Hoosiers pulled off a stunner in overtime, keeping the Spartans from reaching bowl eligibility. This year, it's a battle of the bottom 2 teams in the Big Ten East. They have the same exact record heading into the day, but it'll all change when they kick off at noon on the Big Ten Network. As always, thank you for tuning in to this week's show. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you later.
This segment is sponsored by Spartan Dogs for Life.